Hello viewers and welcome to part 2 of our Assetto Corsa Competizione E3 content. Again looking at hot lap mode, special event 2 that they have, the 4 on the show floor. Again at Monza in the Nissan GTR Nismo GT3. So let's just jump in and take a look at that. Again looking at the menu screens and going into that. Not much to change there, I believe it's all locked for the demo. And we're going to the Monza circuit. So again we see the detail at the start, we look at the car. The glowing of the rear lights there, really nice lighting effects that have been improved since the first game, and obviously the all new wet weather effects as well. Very nice detail on the tarmac again, really nice to see. All the chaps there just standing in the rain, getting wet, going to be absolutely soaked. And again you can see inside the car, nice detail throughout. These are the sort of high-res LODs that you get close to the car, obviously before the race. Gran Turismo branding, always nice to see. And just a showcase there of the full LODs and detail in all effect. Very nice. So this is what we want to see. It's the wet weather.
Green light,
and
go, go, go.
Again, this is pre-alpha gameplay, so still a way to go yet. We're going to talk a bit about this run. The first thing that stands out then, obviously, understanding for the driver where the grip is. It'll be interesting to see what kind of technology they've got in terms of the drying of the racing line, in terms of puddles and water gathering in different parts of the racetrack, how the tyres work in dispersing the water and how that creates a racing line, how transitional the effects are from wet to dry, dry to wet. All of that's going to be important in understanding everything from tyre temperature to water dispersal to track life. We're going to have to wait until a much later build before we can see all of that in effect. But first we're just going to see the driver driving around, a bit more tentative, moving the car around a bit more at the start there, perhaps struggling to put the car exactly on the racing line he would like to. We see the new water effects on the screen there, which for me is still a bit limited at the moment. I'm still hoping that they Drive Club still has the best rain effects ever in a racing game, ever. Nothing comes close to Drive Club. It really does, in particular the gathering water at the base of the windscreen. I would still like to see some of that here. It's still a bit sort of video gamey in terms of the water effect that we have, rather than natural moisture gathering and water gathering. The water continually streaming at the front would give the indication of it raining. But yet there's no rain hitting the windscreen, there's no spots constantly hitting it being wiped away by the wiper, so there's still a lot of work to do there in terms of making that. As you can see, a bit of braking there, almost a little bit wide on Ascari, but getting away with it, and impressively using all the track. That's quite interesting in this video as well. We're seeing the car going over parts of the track that I perhaps would have thought would have been risky, such as white lines, which ordinarily you would avoid, curbs and white lines. There are differences now. I mean, they are painting curbs these days in grippy paint, so that you got, like there we went over the green bit, which looked a bit shiny, looked a bit like I wouldn't want to go over that. And again here, we'll have to see how he takes it from outside the car. You can really see when the car goes over those white lines how much of an impact they have. So let's take a look into braking into turn 1. That's fine. The curbs, it's a slow speed, gently on the power. So we're using all the track, no difference to the dry race. It would be interesting to know if there's a grip differential in terms of the white lines. And as I was saying earlier, they do paint the curbs now in grippy paint. So where the curbs used to be super slippery 15, 20 years ago, they're not now. You can ride the curbs in the dry or the wet equally. So that's not necessarily a big deal, especially from the bigger cars like this. But it is interesting to see whether the white lines offer the same amount of grip as the rest of the circuit, and how the circuit evolves as well in terms of different conditions. I mean, this is a simulator, so they're going to want to simulate, track temperature, ambient temperature. Here you'd have the sort of greasiness from the leaves falling off the trees. Always being aware of that in these sorts of conditions. It's always very tricky. You want to brake that a little bit earlier. Car can move around a bit. So braking a bit earlier into the corners. A bit wide there though. Getting away with it as we skip around the different viewpoints. It's also noted that obviously we've got this streaming water inside the car, but there's nothing on the camera in the other viewpoints, I've noticed, you know. So you can't tell if there's actual rain or not. That's something I guess we'll learn about later in a later build. So I'm assuming there's streaming there. There is rain. There isn't rain. I can't tell because there's nothing behind car, or there's also no spray effects yet. So, or at least nothing that I necessarily noticed in terms of the amount of spray there should be. So that's something else to look at. So there's clearly a lot of work to be done for the guys to bring all those elements together and make it as authentic as it can be. And you can tell the driver playing here is gradually learning the course and getting those braking points ever more on point every lap, which will be interesting to see again. Is it one type of wetness, or is there what is the transition like? Using the rear end a bit there through the corner, bit of corrective lock. Getting there, balancing the throttle on the exit. It's nice to see. Shows the simulation in effect. Down through the gears, getting the car nice and early, riding the curb. Car's definitely not got the grip through there, but didn't want to make the same mistake this time and used a bit more tentative on the exit, requiring a bit of opposite lock. We can see there's a bit of a dry line, but I don't know if that's dynamic at this stage.
Right, mate. 1 minute to go. Keep pushing.
So, radio getting the call there, only a minute to go. So I'm going to leave you now with a bit of a no comment action to finish this video, and then I'll be back in part 3 and we'll have more chats on Assetto Corsa. And if you have questions, do let me know. I might be able to pose those to the developers. But that's it from me for now. As ever, more soon.